Good morning to Travels with Monkey Boy. We're in the middle of our trip to Ireland. This is day number 3. So this morning we woke up in Derry, or Londonderry, or Derry-Londonderry if you're uncertain of your loyalty. The word Derry comes from an Irish word meaning grove of oak trees. Seems uncontroversial, right? But under King James I's rule in the early 1600s, he gave a charter to the area to some Scottish immigrants who, in appreciation, renamed the city to Londonderry, which of course pissed off the local Irish. Since that time, the Catholics have continued to call it Derry, the Protestants Londonderry, and the cowards Derry-Londonderry. Our loyalties, of course, laid with neither religious faction, but with the British TV show, The Derry Girls. Lizzie loves the show, so our first stop of the day was to pay tribute to the show in front of the giant mural in the middle of town. It was raining and we'd had a long day of driving ahead of us, so we bowed to the mural, took a few pictures, and continued along our way. We drove through the rain, mainly on roads that were not wide enough for 2 cars to fit. At one point, we had to back up as a van coming towards us seemed to claim local privilege and wouldn't move. On either side of the road were stone walls, meaning any imprecision would leave a wrecked car. Interestingly, when I rented the car, the daily rental rate was only $30, but it was $30 a day, but it was $60 a day more to insure it. The very clever strategy of local car rental companies was that, given the driving conditions, everyone dings their car. And given the high cost of car repairs, only an idiot wouldn't insure it. Needless to say, I didn't insure it. So it was white knuckle driving for several hours. Our second stop of the day was where the river Largandoon flowed over a 30-foot cliff on its way to Loch Glencar. Loch in Irish, loch in Scottish, lake in English. The Glencar waterfall was not only a beautiful little waterfall, but it was a nice break on the drive. Only a 15-minute walk from the car park and on the shores of the loch with puffy white sheep dotting the green grass and puffy white swans dotting the blue lake. Just random little spots in Ireland are so magical. After recharging our batteries a bit, we got back into the car and drove to Sligo. Sligo was a significant stopping point for Irish literature and Trinity College connections. Maybe the most famous Irish poet, W.B. Yeats' mom, was from Sligo, and he claimed the city was his inspiration. You're probably at least somewhat familiar with the first line of his poem, Sailing to Byzantium. No Country for Old Men, name of a famous Hollywood movie a few years ago. Yeats went to Trinity College and lived and wrote poems in Sligo. But not just Yeats. In the multi-award winning recent novel by Irish author Sally Rooney, Normal People, the two main characters came from Sligo and then went to Trinity College, as did Miss Rooney, as did Miss Elizabeth. As this book is one of Lizzie's favorites, we wanted to just wander the streets of this small village and breathe the same air as the characters. We parked, breathed the air, had a very nice early lunch, and the girls went shopping while I got myself lost wandering the cobblestone streets. Still, there was more exploring to do. Sligo was a hot spot in the Neolithic, that's Stone Age period as well. We planned to go visit the cemetery at Carrowmore, really just piles of rocks, but hey, what do you want? It was the Stone Age. But the site was closed. Come on, Ireland. It's piles of stones in a field. How can you close that? Still, that disappointment gave us time to continue on and then climb up to the Keshkaran caves, real caveman caves. It was a bit of an effort, maybe 45 minutes straight up to get to the caves, but just an incredible view of the countryside below and kind of fun to walk far enough into the caves that Danielle yelled at me to stop being stupid. From the caves, we drove to Clare Galway, where we had reserved a room in the castle for the night. Yes, actual castle, built in the 1400s. In 1504, the Battle of Knockdoe took place outside of Claregalway Castle, the largest medieval battle in Ireland with over 10,000 men battling. On one side was Lord Ulick of the Heads, because he chopped off so many heads. And on the other side was an earl, and a bunch of lords. They were mad because Ulick, who had 2 wives already, was having an affair with one of the other lords' wife. Ulick spent the night before the battle in Clare Galway Castle playing cards and drinking with his men. The next day, at the Battle of Axes, 3,000 men died in hand-to-hand combat. Ulick was crushed, but managed to escape with his life. Ulick was later to go to London to meet with Henry VIII and have his power restored. Honestly, Hollywood, you can't find anything to make films about but superheroes? The castle fell into ruin a few 100 years ago, like Castle Dunluce from yesterday, but the people that bought it hired historians and stonemasons and the like to revitalize it. And now it's a fairly passable medieval bed and breakfast. I slept like a king. Okay, that's the story from the day. Let me show you the map, as is my way. Share screen. And there. And here is the map. If you remember, England, Ireland, flew into Dublin, drove up to Ballyhalbert, the furthest eastern point in Ireland. The first day, the second day, we made it to Londonderry, and this is where we started today's journey. And we drove, if you can see, we're very close to the border of Ireland. But we drove into Ireland, and then we drove down to Glencar Waterfall, the waterfall that you could see in the background. Then we went to, here's the waterfall. I think if we zoom in real close, you can kind of see it. Here's the beautiful lake and the park that we were right on. You can't really see the waterfall. But here's the town of Sligo, about 20,000 people. Here's Keshcoran Caves. I had to climb up this big hill, and you can see the range of caves going all the way down here. It was really a nice diversion and a good hike, about the limits of my strength. And after that, we drove down to Clare Galway Castle, right about here. Okay, and let me show you the pictures. Here's Miss Danielle in front of the Derry Girls poster in the middle of Derry-Londonderry. Here's the beautiful little park outside of the waterfall, the beautiful white sheep and the green grass. And here we have the swans in the background with the baby swans, cygnets they're called. Here's Lizzie and Miss Danielle at the waterfall. Here is just the background, the cliffs in the background, the beautiful winter berries in the front foreground. Here's a row of swans swimming along. And here the ladies are walking up to the caves. There's Miss Lizzie posing. Here we are almost up to the caves. Lizzie turning around, giving me the stink eye. And there she is in the cave, such a pretty girl. There's Miss Danielle. This is the view that the cavemen would have. And here we are deep inside the cave. That's my background picture. And here we are inside the castle. That's me. Up here's a picture of the three of us at the waterfall. This is the foreground. This is the courtyard of the castle. This is the guard tower. We stayed in this room right here. And here I am practicing my axe work for the Battle of the Axes. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Day 4 tomorrow. Take care. Thanks for listening. Okay, goodbye.